with many signifying the two escalating stage happening.
5, 4, 3.
We have stage 2 engine ignition. 1 minute 25 seconds. Engine pressure hold. No we have handle rates 236, 291, 4229.
Hey guys, City Walk, City Wall here, and welcome back to Mars. This is pretty fun. It's only like 3 or 4 days since I recorded last episode's commentary, unlike the usual 3 weeks that other episodes have been in the past. Nice getting back into the groove of doing commentary. So last episode, we built a really big arena for the upper area people, maybe for concerts or sporting events, that kind of thing. And that left us with a really, really large area underneath. Lots of different streets and buildings facing those streets and different areas that could be filled in and needed to be filled in. So this episode, we're just going to make our way around this lower area here. So let's get into it. First area we're working on here is in this little spot next to the yakisoba noodle bar, which was built in episode 7. This whole really big street here is directly underneath these giant water pipes that connect from the ice drilling facility all the way to the central building in the colony. And the street is really, really wide because of that, and also because there's some conveyors going through it, and so it's a pretty large space to fill down here. What's going to be down here, Started off by just placing some buildings along the side of this road just to kind of get the width of the street, messing with some conveyor belts just to get those kind of cleaned up and extended out where they need to go. The supports that are holding up these giant pipes full of water, obviously you don't want people climbing up or messing with these pipes, so I placed down some fences around most of the supports in this area, added some details, and then just started working on this little outdoor restaurant / kind of gathering place. So that just started out with placing down some stalls, a couple of which I was thinking were the ones that actually make the food or serve the food, some tables and chairs with little people sitting at them and little things of bread on top, some string lights going over the top, and then towards one corner I made this little makeshift stage out of a couple different concrete pieces at different heights. There's some speakers on the stage, a couple of people, a little makeshift microphone, and a oil barrel as maybe a drum or something along those lines. And sitting around it, I put a bunch of chairs and a bunch of little people sitting there. Next to this is a pretty large area underneath these pipes as well. And something that I've always wanted to do in Mars since the very beginning was a soup kitchen. I wanted this place to be kind of like it was associated with a religious place. Obviously, a lot of the workshop assets are churches, so that's what we have here, but that's not necessarily what I'm thinking this really is. I was imagining that this place is a little bit more like some sort of cult where it's more about brainwashing and propaganda and getting people under their fold rather than really about spreading good morals or anything like that. So I got this Mediterranean church asset from the workshop, mainly because it's not made of bricks like a lot of the other workshop churches are. Placed a few of them down just to kind of fill up this whole entire space back here. And then off to the side, I started working on just a single big long row of benches with a bunch of different people seated at it and some food on the table. Placed a few of those down in big long rows all throughout this big open area. Against the church, I made a few stalls with some people standing at them and some serving tables with food food there and made a big long line of little citizen props that are waiting for their turn to get some food, and finished off the whole area by placing down a ton of propaganda looking signs and banners all over this place. So it really looked like this was some sort of weird, we'll give you free food in exchange for you joining our cult kind of deal going on here. Making our way around here, the next place that I had a bunch of buildings laid down, but not really anything permanent or detailed, was the spot that I thought originally would be a street that goes underneath this arena island. Sort of similar to how there's a street that goes underneath that 3-level upper island that I made in episode 8. And what I decided to do was delete all the buildings that are under there and turn this into some sort of industrial place. I thought it would be cool if not 100% of the industrial stuff is around the edges of the city, and some of it was mixed in here and there, but in ways where it's not really going to disturb the city. It's something that is closed off and quiet and not polluting. So before I even knew what this was going to be specifically, I just started working out the general layout of how it was going to face the front streets there. I took one of these really big mall assets, and using procedural objects, I squished it to be much thinner than it would normally be, and used this as a wall that I had go all the way around the whole perimeter of this area. There's a cable car that goes through here, so I added in a cable car stop and used a bunch of different buildings and pieces to kind of cover that whole thing up. And then to fill in the rest of it, I placed down a bunch of really big metal beams and some glass in between all of them, so that this area inside of here could be sort of a detailed build and look really cool, and you could still see it from the outside. So I wanted a way to be able to look into this place once it was done. And at this point, I had been working on this for a while and had enough time to think about what could possibly go in here. And what I thought could be cool is doing a place for the crates that are going all over the city to come and get maintenanced. So first thing I did was cover up those hedges that come with the cable car stop with a couple different large kind of industrial buildings in the center of this space. The conveyor belt that was originally going through that street, I basically kept where it was. I wanted there to be a second level for the conveyor belts to go way higher up in here. And so what I did was I turned this building into kind of a skinny, tall shape and had it be sort of like it was an elevator where a crate could go into it at the bottom level, and then a really, really steep road would drive you straight up inside of it, and then it would pop out, at the very top, and then do a little loop around the place and then go down another elevator. I thought a cool way for these crates to be in here and be stored is if they were all stacked on top of each other, and a cool way to do that I was thinking was to make them all on really tall pistons so that the stack could raise and lower depending on how many crates were in the stack. So I took a Ronic 69 expressway pillar, one of those circular shaped ones, and using procedural objects turned it yellow. Took another one, made it really, really squished and turned it black, and at the very top just a piece of metal that I made sort of the size of one of these crates. So I just put crate on top of it, duplicated it up over and over, and made a couple different variations with these things at different heights, different numbers of crates, and then just started placing those around all over the inside of this place. I made another few variations at different heights with, rather than crates on top of them, a really big animated robot arm that Cordo made. Sort of like these robots had the ability to grab a crate off of the conveyor belt and move them onto a stack, basically. I made this one spot that you kind of have to stretch your imagination just a little bit. There's a really big black prop that I put against the wall of this building and had a robot arm kind of halfway sticking out of it, sort of this is an interior area and a robot could grab a crate from outside and bring it inside to get serviced in there. And then at ground level, I was thinking it'd be pretty cool to have a little service vehicle that drives around and maybe adds oil to these pistons or checks them or does, whatever it does. So there's this awesome little vehicle that's technically a bus that Rust Bucket made, and I made a little road that goes around in a loop down here. added a Ninja Noob Slayer 1x1 spawner that just spawns buses, and made a little line. So there's just like 2 little guys that drive around here in a circle. Later on, I added in a larger route that goes kind of through the building. There's some doors and pops out on the other side and has another stop on the other side of the whole entire space, so that it kind of does a route where it goes all over the whole area. And then at the very top, I wanted to figure out a good way to get crates to actually go up on this route that goes through the elevators. And so what I decided to do was make a really tall, skinny building in the center of this place and put a ton of industrial service cubes in here, so that when we're looking at this place through the window on the outside, you know, we're only really going to see this upper part. So I wanted to make sure it was as animated as possible with all these different moving robot arms and as many crates as I can really get going through there as well. The final thing this area was I had some residential buildings next to this kind of industrial area, and instead what I wanted to do was make more of an entrance to like an underneath arena, where we have this really big nice arena on top, and then we have sort of like a place that's part of the same complex but is specifically for the people in the lower parts of the city. And I was thinking this was another thing that would be really for the service of spreading propaganda around the city, like as opposed to the arena up above where you're seeing sports or concerts. This would be more like heavily kind of like government sponsored plays or speeches, things like that. And so I wanted to go for something that was extremely under detailed, extremely like big, tall, flat walls, very sharp angles. And because of that, this build only took like an hour to make, which was insane considering how long other things in the city have taken. The main thing here was just placing a ton of different pieces of concrete in however I wanted them to be. So at the bottom, there's like a square opening. At the top, there's a triangular shaped opening. And through the middle of that triangle, there's like an upper conveyor belt that was going right through the middle of it that I encased in even more concrete. I used one of these new Nardo holograms in the front of it, and in the back of each of these openings, I placed like a wall of light up glowing cubes, some blue lights to make this whole place kind of glow blue, and at the bottom, in the back of this kind of squarish opening, like a building, so that there was a door and kind of like an entryway to get into this place. To make it functional, on the inside I ran a road from that conveyor belt down to ground level and just put a bunch of cubes down there, including another one of those basketball arena cubes, so that there's like events that happen here and big waves of people walk in and out. And around the whole top I placed down some of these animated procedural objects text signs that for some reason I chose for it to say, "It's a beautiful thing." And it's a pretty nondescript thing for this to be saying, but I think it kind of fits the vibe of this place, because I think the point of having a place like this in the lower parts of the city is for people to come here to probably one of the nicest spots in the whole entire city that they have access to, and pretty much be lied to and told that their situation is fine. Everything is beautiful, problems don't exist in Mars, and that's obviously a lie, but I think it's important for a place like this with really terrible conditions to be doing everything that they can to at least convince some of the people here that Walk Industries is good and changing things would be bad, and people who say otherwise are evil. And I have to say, even though this build only took me an hour maybe, this is probably my favorite thing that's been built in the city so far. I just love the way that this looks and the idea behind it. But that's it for this episode. Let me know what you guys thought. I'd love to hear it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all next time on Mars. City Skylines Mars tells the story of greed, lies, and broken dreams on the surface of the red planet. If you'd like to put a little bit of Mars up on your wall, from now until December 1st, any patron who pledges $25 will get this limited edition Mars Balancing Rocks poster. You'll also get access to Mars episodes well before they come out on YouTube, tons of patron-only live streams you can really watch and give input into the city getting built, and much more. The link is in the description. Again, this series wouldn't be what it is without your support, so huge thanks to my patrons, mods, the City Skylines asset creators, and to you for watching this video. I'll see you all next time on Mars.